welcome everyone to Janesville, and welcome to this presentation to Speaker Ryan on policing in America. To the police executives here, thanks for taking time out of your day. This came on rather quickly. This discussion of this meeting started, I think, last Wednesday, or last Tuesday, and so to put this together this quickly. And my sincere thanks to all of you, because many of you gave up some responsibilities back in your communities for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Speaker Ryan, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to share it with us here today. I looked at Washington's calendar, and it seems you have a few things going on there this week.
It's a busy week.
So, yes, I think there is. So thank you for taking time to meet with us. I'd like to introduce Mr. Chuck Wexler. Mr. Wexler is with the Police Executive Research Forum, commonly called PERF, and Mr. Wexler's leadership brought us here today. Mr. Wexler?
Well, thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. You got a lot of things to do in this country, and that you would take time out of your schedule today. So thank you very much. And thank you, Chief Moore, because we're really here for two reasons. Obviously to see the Speaker, but also to recognize your work and what you've done. You know, I don't know the Chief quite honestly very well. I just got to know him about 3 days ago when we saw what you are doing in Janesville here to deal with use of force, the #1 issue in the country. He sent 6 people to New Orleans to be part of our training about a month ago. And those these 6 officers came back and they said, they went to the chief and they said, you know, we have to do this here. And we all thought of it because you'll see, I'll call on all the people here. Use of force is an issue in the country, but what Janesville is doing is a model for the country. And because it's your district, we wanted you to know about it. It's a positive thing. It's based on prevention. Chief, let me let you talk about it yourself. You want to kind of talk a little bit before I call on everybody else?
Yeah, sure. I'd like you to think a little bit about the policing profession. We take young men and women, we hire them right out of college and probably don't have a whole lot of life experiences. We send them to a police academy, and then we bring them back to our departments for field training. And then we send them out into the community alone in the middle of the night on holidays and weekends. And we send to them our community's toughest problems and our community's toughest issues. And when that officer arrives on scene, typically that officer knows less than everybody else there. But yet everybody turns to that officer and expects an immediate answer. And they expect it to be 100% right, and they expect excellence. And the best part of this whole story is, almost all the time, that's what we deliver. Under those circumstances that are very difficult, these officers deliver. So that's why, as police executives, we need to assure that we are offering our officers proper training, proper support, and an organizational culture and values that support those very tough decisions that we require. All of the police executives here recognize the harm that can come to communities if we lose trust. All of these executives understand how difficult it is for a community, for a policing organization, if it's viewed that use of force is unjust. And these chiefs know here how hard it is on a police officer when he or she uses deadly force, the harm that comes to that officer and the harm that can come to their family as they deal with the emotional parts of this. So I'll share with you very quickly the journey that the Janesville Police Department has had with respect to building trust, assuring proper officer conduct, and appropriate use of force. A number of years ago, we worked with implicit bias training. 100% of our officers have implicit bias training, from myself down to the newest hired records clerk. Sworn, non-sworn, everybody goes to the training because we want it to be systemic within the organization. And the message is that it's important to the organization. Similarly, we've done procedural justice training, assuring that we treat our citizens fairly, we treat our employees fairly. 100% of our staff attended that training is offered by the Department of Justice. Just last month, we finished up microaggression training, which we felt was important. We have a robust crisis intervention training where we work closely with those in our community that suffer from mental illness. We build a relationship with them, and when they are in their moment of crisis, we want those folks looking at police officers as people that will help and not somebody that is a threat. All of our officers have attended de-escalation training. About 30 minutes north of here is Gander Mountain. They have a 300-degree interactive screen, and we put officers in this room with this 300-degree interactive screen, and we put tough police scenarios before them, and we train them on how to de-escalate and maybe go from deadly force down to non-deadly force. And we work that over and over again, and then bring them out, and we talk about the right decisions and wrong decisions. That takes me to May of 2016. I asked our officers to go out and find what we think is the best training in this nation in terms of de-escalation and diffusing critical incidents. It was our intent to send our officers wherever that may be. Could have been LA, could have been New York, I don't know, but I said, look far and wide, find the training, we'll send you there, bring that training back to the Janesville Police Department, and we'll train all of our officers. Well, it was at that point that we found PERF's ICAT training, the Integrated Communication Assessment and Tactics training. We sent a team of 6 officers to the ICAT training from varying disciplines. They represented SWAT, our domestic violence, our CIT, negotiations, administration, but a nice blend of disciplines. And those officers attended the training, they believe in the training, and I have tasked them with building a 3-year plan. So March 1st, our team will come back with a 3-year plan on how we will implement the ICAT training over the next 3 years. We believe that training will guide our department for the next decade in regards to respect for our citizens, organizational value, and service to our community. So Mr. Wexler, I can tell you I want to thank you for the PERF training and the best practices that you look for in our industries, and I think I can speak for all of us here. We believe this is our best way to keep our communities safe and keep our officers safe. So Mr. Wexler, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Chief. And so what we did, Mr. Speaker, is before we rolled this out, PERF is an organization, police chiefs, we have about 3,000 members, and we wanted to pilot it. We piloted a few of the sites. Scott Thompson is the police chief of Camden County. As you know, Camden is a tough place. They have a lot of gun crime, they have a lot of issues, but he has turned that department around. He's also the elected president of Chief, what has this training meant to the Camden County Police?
Well, first and foremost, Mr. Speaker, use of force is what has traditionally kept police chiefs up at night. Even more so now, because of the impact it can have upon our community and the impact that it has upon our officers. And knowing that there is a better way for us to ensure that our officers go home each and every night, and at the same time everyone else goes home each night. And that this would work hand in glove with community policing as well, and like the chief just said, with building trust and relationships with them. And within an extremely challenged community that we have been utilizing the de-escalation, the community policing best practices that we have identified here in ICAT. And what we have found is that we have had several instances that historically would have resulted in deadly force being used by our officers, justifiably so. And by utilizing these best practices, the person we were dealing with went home to their loved ones.
Yeah, that's the question. How do you measure this?
Yeah.
How do you measure what from baseline to where you arrive? and measure success on this? It's got to be a kind of an intangible thing.
It is intangible, but he says to me, and we have a video, which we have 6 months ago, we would have shot this guy. So it is hard to measure, except in human terms, though. People are walking the streets of Woodland, right?
Absolutely correct. And this is something, this gets to be a culture change within an organization. And the measurement is in its actions that are manifested itself over and over again with the officers of the community. And then what you find is when I just had a fatal officer-involved shooting last week, and I did not have a community uproar. I don't have people marching in my streets. And really what you find is, because many times when you start to see the social unrest, it's not that one incident in of itself. It's the perception people have of that sense of inequity over thousands of interactions.
Yeah, I have a buddy who's a pastor in Somerset, New Jersey. Buster Soares. I don't know.
Buster,
You know Buster?
Yes.
Yeah, Buster and I are buddies. I've been friends with him for a number of years, and he has this relationship with the Somerset police chief, where as soon as something happens, they are immediately activated. They get together and they kind of de-escalate things from happening because of the community relationships they have to begin with. Is that part of the component of this, which is not just the situation between the officer and the instance or the provocation, but whatever it was to happen, that you have some kind of a community plan in place immediately?
Yeah, absolutely. The initial outreach to the community, the communication to them in real human form, not just
right.
electronic measure,
right.
is really that which displays the respect and the deference you're giving to them. And nothing builds trust like human contact. Right. But what we're also doing, training the officers to do that training, it's a form of communication. It's a sense of slowing things down. And because traditionally what we have trained officers is to rush into situations, take control of it. And oftentimes, these tactics in and of themselves limited officers to the last resort correction of deadly force, which was brought to the forefront much quicker than it needed to be. However, if we take a different perspective on this, it's a win-win.
That's why. So ICAT is officer training, how to de-escalate. But then there's another component about community policing as it relates to the community, and not the actual instance, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, those best practices, I think, are very, very true.
What he did last week, he had a very significant case, is on social media, the story started to get out in the wrong way. And because he has built such a great relationship with the community, he was able to call on them and say, I know you're going to, he actually had officers go door to door in Camden and say, I know you've heard this, let me tell you the facts. But you can't create something like that when there's a crisis. You have to do it beforehand. You have to put money in the bank, and that's what he did, right? It was a very significant case. Guy shot a woman, and a cop saved him and brought both people out and gave CPR to one and put the other one in a police car. Very significant. Sanctity of human life, right? Sheriff Mike Chitwood, he comes out of Philadelphia. He was in the Philadelphia Police Department. John Timoney said he was the best cop he ever knew. Then he would go to Daytona Beach, and now he is a sheriff in Volusia. Yes.
Very important county.
Very important.
Yeah, I know it.
That's how I like it. Mr. Speaker, I think what Chuck just touched on is the key of what we're trying to get at. Somewhere along the line, we lost touch with what we really are. And what we are in American policing is guardians, not warriors.
Yeah.
The core mission of everything we do has to be the sanctity of human life, has to be at the basis of all of our policies. You know, to have a mom call 911 and say that my son is having a psychotic episode, he's on crack cocaine, he's naked in the living room, he's waving a machete around, and he wants you guys to come and kill him. And 22 seconds after we arrive, we kill him. That's not what she called us for. She called us for help. But as Scott talked about, the purpose of this training is when you get calls like that, use time, use distance, use cover. The person is only a danger to themselves. They don't need to be dead. What they need is to be contained, bring the experts in, bring your SWAT team, bring your negotiators in, and just stand back. The problem we have is with the court case, Graham versus O'Connor, the defense is, well, I put myself in danger, I had no other choice but to kill him. And to borrow a phrase from Bill Bratton, it's lawful, but it's awful. Mm-hmm. And that's what the training that we've gone through with scenarios, with best practices, is to get us, our officers, to think about the sanctity of human life. What decision are we going to make that's going to impact that life and that family forever?
Brandon Del Pozo comes out of the NYPD, and he's now police chief in Burlington, and he is another one of our pilot sites. Brandon.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you for having me today. Early on in my career in Vermont, we took the life of a mentally ill person who was armed with a knife after negotiating with him for 4 hours. Coming out of New York City, having had a career there, it struck me that American policing is really founded on respect for the autonomy of the 18,000 local agencies that comprise America's police force. But in respect for that autonomy, we've seen forces with very, very different ways to approaching problems. We were just talking with Chief Moore, and the ways that we're innovating are remarkable for their similarity as for their difference. I found that there were things that great cops in Vermont would have wanted to have done to save this man's life that they just were unaware of or didn't have access to. And when I started talking more to Chuck Webster, it occurred to me that despite this need really for autonomy at the local level, there also needs to be innovation in the profession that's voluntary, that is progressive, that's written by its leaders, that shows a way forward so that a chief in Wisconsin, a chief in Vermont, a chief in Florida, a sheriff can have access to practices that, we're not all reinventing rocket ships here. There's a lot of things we can do uniformly to save lives. And I think that's as bipartisan as it gets. We were talking, Republicans care about it, the folks in Vermont care deeply about it, all sides of the spectrum. It's about keeping the police out of a person's life, unless we really, really have a reason to be there.
Chris Magnus came out of the Lansing Police Department. Then he became chief in Fargo, North Dakota.
Okay, so you're familiar with this weather. You guys in Tucson. Yeah. Yes.
Then he goes to Richmond, California for 10 years. And then he comes to Tucson, Arizona. So he...
Lansing, Fargo, Richmond, Tucson.
Interesting.
That's across in the country. Yeah.
So he's seen a lot. He's also on the PERF board.
But it ties very much to what the chief was just saying, and a theme you're hearing here, which is, I don't think it really matters where you live in the country geographically, the size of the city, or for that matter, the politics of the community. Because around this table, we've worked in communities that probably cover the full spectrum of political views. The common denominator is all of us have community members, and for that matter, family members who have been touched by issues that potentially bring them in contact with the police under the most difficult circumstances. Sometimes it's easy to say, well, we're dealing with mentally ill people. Those people, the guy you see perhaps in front of the 7-Eleven going crazy, or the person on the bus. But really, those people are also our family members, our friends, people we know. So the idea here is that we're trying to provide training that really gives police officers more options, more choices, ways to do things differently. And we're trying to sort of inculcate them with training that says it's okay to slow things down. In fact, when we can slow things down, sometimes we get much better outcomes. It's okay to take the time to talk and to learn how to do active listening with somebody. You don't just have to come in and start yelling at somebody and barking out commands. It's okay to reposition yourself, to even back up and back out of the situation that gives us more options to do something differently. So it really does come down to training and giving that training legitimacy. So we come back to this key idea that frankly most of us went into policing for, which is to protect the sanctity of life, all life. And sometimes that even includes the life of the bad guy in some cases, right? But it's still critically important. So I think that's the common theme. We're saying that if there are ways that we can continue to advance that kind of training opportunity, because it's hard to get, when you have 18,000 police departments, not every officer has the same access to that. So the tone and some of the priorities that are set in Washington, whether it's through Justice Department, Cops Office, BJA, these are ways that really help push that training out there. And they're going to continue to be incredibly important as we try to innovate some of these practices throughout the country. But we really appreciate your interest in this. So thank you so much for that.
And then finally, Superintendent Michael Harrison is the police chief, the superintendent in New Orleans. And he has done a phenomenal job of taking that department to a different place. Implementing changes, some are hard, but he's well respected in the department and has just done a phenomenal job, superintendent.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
We found that, and you heard all the chiefs and the sheriffs and Chuck say this, the expectations of the community, the citizens, are no different whether it's in Wisconsin or a big city somewhere else in the country. Citizens expect the police to be able to come and do a job that protects not only the police, but the citizenry. Well, the expectations are the same within police departments, whether it's a small department or a large department. And the officers expect to be able to be given tools to be able to do their job because they want to be able to do their job. And we don't want to use force. But over the course of history, we've had to. And it was just a short while ago, as you've already heard, many officers will say, well, I would have shot that guy, or I would have done this. Or if not that, the officer